Welcome back to another episode of the More Alive podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Crowder. Today's topic is so juicy and one that you are probably going to want to take notes for. So if you're driving, go ahead and listen, but just know you might want to pull out your voice recording app or just a way you can easily jot down notes if you need to voice something to yourself for later, because it's going to be so fucking good. Today's topic is how to know if something has divine timing. This is one of my secret sauces to not just creating a business that has outside success from a monetary standpoint, where you see the data and the numbers are representing exactly where it is that you're trying to go, but from the standpoint of the values and the belief systems and the more alive way. And that means that wherever it is that I'm trying to go, that there's life in it for me. Because I don't know about you guys, but me starting my business back in 2011, I was exclusively focused on exactly what it was I was trying to achieve. But nobody ever taught me to ask the questions, how do I want to get there? My only goal, my only focus was get there. And all of the goal setting, all of the achievement books at this time, there were no podcasts. Everything was exclusively focused on the outcome. Nobody talked about how you actually wanted to feel as you were getting there. And because it wasn't something that I ever challenged, I just grew up accepting that this is just how things are, and things are supposed to be hard and they're supposed to be challenging. And I'm not saying that I want a business that doesn't have challenges, because if there's no challenges, there's no growth, there's no expansion. But I do want a business without suffering. And that was something that took me over a decade to be able to figure out and to achieve. And it's something that is my exclusive focus. And this is my zone of genius, and why female entrepreneurs from all walks of life, from all over the globe, come to me specifically, is not just because I'm trying to achieve, but I achieve through the lens of feminine achievement. And you guys, I remember walking into this, PS, this next little clip right here. Just warning that if you're sensitive around the topic of people desiring to take their life, go ahead and just fast forward just a few minutes. But it's going to be a very small clip, but I do just want to give that warning. I walked into this room at the top of a hotel down in Miami, beautiful, just aesthetic, floor to ceiling windows. You see Biscayne Bay, and just a room full of 100 elite entrepreneurs, billionaires in the room, people who I was making, a couple $100,000 or whatever in my business. I'd never done any more than multi six figures. So in terms of if you looked at data or monetary success, I was the most unimpressive person in that room. Honestly, I don't know how I got there, but I looked around and I was one of about 5 women. And the thing that I found so much value in, and I really respect these men, is that as everyone was taking the stage and everyone had something different to share, their area of expertise, and then 2 men got on stage over the course of that day, both of them having made over $1 billion in business by any standards, one of the highest forms of achievement according to the rest of the world and what we believe achievement to be, which is predominantly monetary success. And they stood on that stage and they gave us a warning. And they said, I had it all. I had the cars, I had the family, I had yachts and houses and flew private and had everything that a lot of people in this world, if you consider yourself a high achiever, would be shooting for. And they said there came a point where I wasn't sure if I could go on anymore. And I listened to them give this room primarily full of men warning signs that I had already seen for myself in my business. And I can't tell you guys how many times behind the scenes when I'm coaching women who have made, even men, 7 and 8 figures in business, who say, I hear all the time about the statistics about entrepreneurs taking their life. And I have to say, well, I know that I wouldn't do that. I also understand. I get it. I get wanting to put an end to the suffering. And I remember thinking how grateful I was that those men had the level of care and purpose and service and vulnerability to share in that room that day, that warning sign of make sure that you know where you're going and you know how you want to get there. That was one thing that nobody ever asked me. From day one, it was like, how much money do you want to make? What's the level of visibility that you want? It was, I started in the network marketing industry. So it was all around like recognition and money, like status and money, status and money, status and money, and like show people the status and money. And the one thing I loved about the network marketing company that I was working with at the time is there was this one guy who was on the leadership team. His name was Jeff Hill. And still to this day, I look at him like a founding father of my success because like I felt his heart, and he was such a guiding mentor for me that was like, stay true to you, stay grounded, stay rooted. And I'm going to be honest, in the beginning, when you come from nothing, when like you've lived a life where like you didn't have running water, you've lived a life where like a $2 Mountain Dew became a huge fight between you and your spouse because it was just the thing that like put you into the negative. When you live a life where you're like worried for like, how do I provide for my children? Like, how do we actually, be able to give them the life that they want? How do I pay for a flight to go home for a funeral? Like when my grandpa died, my ex-husband was in the military and I spent almost 20 years as a military wife. And like to have to miss things like, like, can I afford this flight? Or who do I ask? Or how do I, like, where am I resourced in order to be there for major life events, births and deaths? And like, and then all of a sudden you have nothing and then you have something and you're like, holy shit. You're like, you receive your first like $10,000 or $16,000 check in your life. And you're like, couldn't have imagined, like, what the hell? What do we like? There is a process of learning, not just how to earn, but how to have, that's so significant. That was like a huge part of my journey. And I remember feeling so grateful. Like, you go on a high and you're like, I haven't been able to spend money in my whole life, honestly. Like I've never been able to actually freely spend money. And I remember one of my first goals, I told one of my best friends when I was in corporate, I told him we just like took a break during the middle of work, just a little lunch break. And we went to the mall and we had lunch in the food court and we passed by Michael Kors. And I was like, I walked in and I saw their beautiful case of watches. And I remember telling him, I'm like, I'm going to know I made it. My I made it moment is when I can come in here and I can buy any watches that I wanted, like 4 of them at once. Like so that would have been like less than $1,000. Like that was the biggest goal that I could imagine. That was the biggest dream that like my heart could even fathom in the moment. And then I went from that to being able to walk in and like with, just like a women in desire to, buy a Chanel bag or a Louis Vuitton, and like to go from absolutely nothing in your biggest dream, being able to buy 4 Michael Kors watches, to being able to, buy the $100,000 car and this and that and the $1 million home. Like there's a process of learning remembering who you are and what you want and what you stand for and staying grounded in all of it. Cause it can be easy to get swept up in it and just be excited about it. And want to finally like breathe and be like, I can have this now. Like I can have this and it doesn't hurt me afterwards. So like, there's this process of not having to learning how to earn and then learning how to have. And like, it's quite the journey. But I remember just thinking how grateful I was to have a man like Jeff in my life who was like, stay grounded, stay true, and remember what this is all for. And even though he wasn't telling me like, Andrea, set values for yourself. How do you want to achieve? Like, I was learning it through his embodiment. It was never a thing that he verbalized to me, but I was slowly watching it. And over time, I realized the significance of what was happening in me, which was my standards were rising because I went from having nothing to having a lot, and then to having a lot, and then all of a sudden feeling an insane amount of pressure to be able to maintain, and wanting to keep going and wanting to impress more people. And I remember this like January after I had had another successful year in network marketing. And I remember thinking like, I have to go buy so like the trend in the network marketing industry was to like buy yourself a success gift at the end of the year and like to show the world like the lifestyle that they could possibly have. And like, now I want to throw up in the back of my mouth when I think about it. I'm just like, what the fuck? What the fuck was all of that for? And still so grateful for all of it. I'll never not be grateful for this moment. I remember walking into Louis Vuitton store with my son, and I remember buying this purse, but I remember feeling so fatigued and so tired, and it felt like every January I just skid into the beginning of the new year on my fucking face. It was like just every January, road rash, and just like, how do I like keep doing this? And then I asked myself, what am I still doing this for? And what I was selling meant something to me. Like, I was helping people take their physical health back. That really meant something to me. Helping women gain a sense of like confidence and vitality. I've always been here for like the women of like, it's always been about helping women feel better. And I used to say it simply back in network marketing. I would say, I just want to help women feel better because women who feel better do better. Now I say like, I want to help you feel more alive, or I want to help you build a business from pleasure, not pressure. It's always been about the feeling for me. It's always been about like how I remember one of my favorite quotes that changed my life. I'll never forget it. I read it once and I was like, I've just thought about it. And I've said it so many times over the years, like shout out to Danielle Laporte. She said, the journey should feel the way you want the destination to feel. And what I learned from the billionaires who stood on stage that day and said that the day that I achieved everything, I felt like I had nothing. I had nothing left to live for. And they almost made a choice to not. It resonated, not resonated. It created this resolve within my heart of forever and always, I will be the example of the person who either has it in a way that's sustainable. I've said this a million times. Like number one, I want a business that has longer legs than I do, which means that if I sit down, if I take a rest, if I honor my body, if I honor the tool that I have to work with within this life, if I honor that, I need a business that can keep going without me, because this message means more to me than the recognition of me being the one to propel it everywhere in order for it to be anything. I don't want to be the person that makes it possible. I want to be a piece of it, but not all the possibility. And then the second thing is that I have this belief that I can be the most alive on my last day of life. I want to be the most alive I've ever been on the last day that I take my final breath. I want to know I fucking lived through all of it. And I've read enough stories and I've seen enough people in, their 70s and their 80s when their life isn't about their career anymore. And I just look at them and I remember like, what matters here? And I believe the women in this world, the women who are listening to this podcast, I believe that we have a higher standard for this experience. I believe that we know that we can achieve. And I believe that we know that it doesn't have to come at the ultimate cost. I don't belong in any room that I can't bring all of me into. I don't belong in any room that I can't bring all of me into. And I remember thinking, like, this was in 2011. I remember thinking, I started this for freedom. Like all around this time, I'm seeing these billionaires take the stage, the pinnacle of like success. And they're saying that it became so detrimental to them that it almost cost them their life. The greatest cost that could possibly come for you is the cost of your life. And I remember thinking like, I'm questioning everything. And I sat there and I said to myself, I grabbed a stack of Post-it notes in like every color, like the bright pink, all the neons. And I grabbed these Post-it notes and I remember thinking like, I started this for freedom. I started all of this for freedom. But no one ever asked me, what does that mean to me? The only freedom that had been modeled to me was the financial, was the accolades, was the visibility. And I remember thinking, I need to decide to declare what freedom means to me. And then anything that's not that has to be a no. I say all the time, the reason we keep getting less is because we keep saying yes to it. The reason we keep getting less is because we keep saying yes to it. But sometimes it's like such a subconscious level, we don't even really know. We don't know why we're saying yes to this. We don't know why we're saying no to that. It comes at like such a, like it just becomes this like automated, almost like sleepwalking. So I took some like conscious awareness to, I just woke myself the fuck up. And I remember asking myself, what does freedom mean to me? And so I wrote down freedom on, I had like little Post-it notes. And then I had like one of those big, like whiteboard easels. And I wrote freedom, one letter at a time. And I started writing on every single Post-it note. I'm like, what feels like freedom to me? Not the outcome, but like what feels like freedom to me. And I probably had like, I don't know, like 50, 60 Post-it notes filled with different words, like contribution and vitality and relaxation and ease and like depth and connection. And I looked at all of them and I started looking for the common denominator. So I took every single word that was similar to another and I started putting them in a stack. And by the time I was done, I realized that I had about, 7 stacks? How many letters of freedom? Freedom. 7. 7 stacks. And I remember looking at them and then looking at the letters of freedom. And the first one was fulfillment. And then I wrote fulfillment, and then all of the Post-it notes that felt like fulfillment for me went after that one. So I just put them all in a row. And then the R was relationships, my personal relationships, romantic relationships, relationships with my children, relationships with family members, relationships with clients, like just personal relationships with human beings, whether it was personal or professional, because it's all fucking personal, especially if you're in the coaching industry. So relationships, energy. It was like the body and like breath and like ease. It was like the physical body, but then the spiritual body, the mental body and the emotional body. I'm like, okay, energy. Energy is critical to me being able to achieve anything. It's like, it's the thing that powers all of it. So we have energy, and then expression. Expression means, who is Andrea when I'm bringing all of me into the room? When I'm bringing all of me into the room. I started thinking about this podcast this morning and I'm like, what am I going to wear? And I started looking for this, like a really cute outfit. And I'm just like, that's going to feel fake on my body today. It's just like, it feels fake on my body today. And freedom is about bringing all of me into the room. And I'm like, I just want to wear a hoodie and like my ripped jeans, because this is like the most iconic Andrea fucking Crowder look that exists on earth. And I was like, okay, expression, like, I'm just going to show up as myself. Who fucking cares if it's a podcast and it's just going to show up on the internet? And like, what if, a news outlet sees this someday, or like a reporter, like, awesome. Want to know why they're going to come to me? Because I'm willing to bring all of me into it. The people that we trust the most are the people that bring all of themselves into every room and every conversation. I don't trust someone that's a yes person. I trust someone who's willing to tell me no. I have to do that first. I had to be willing to say, no, I don't fucking care. Like what outfit I wear. I want to wear the outfit that feels like the most authentic, true expression today. People have asked me like, Andrea, how would you describe authenticity? And I just say, just tell the fucking truth. And if you know, if you're telling the truth, if it makes you strong, and if you're telling a lie, if it makes you weak, period. Like, why does this have to be so complicated? It's not. Tell the truth. The truth makes you strong. That's it. So expression, direction. Direction is like, I look at my like tattoos, and like I have the word guided on my, like the kind of back end of my thumb. And it's like that inner compass. Direction is that inner compass. Am I leading from my head or my heart or my womb or my core? If I were a guy. I had a conversation with my book editor last week, and I hired her for many reasons. She's exceptionally talented and also my ideal customer. And I was like, I feel like there's nobody more perfect for you, because as I go and as I'm getting feedback from you, your nervous system is going to clock it, and you're going to be like, yes, I needed this. And I'll know, because I'll watch you soften. And so she was like, yes, please. Like, I'm all here for this. And so we spent our entire session last week together. And I said, can I just interview you? And so it wasn't like, it had nothing to do with like her reading my writing or like giving me advice on, chapters, none of it. I was like, I need to like flesh this out with someone. I have some like ideas coming. And so I started asking her questions about her business and her love life and everything that could come to mind. And I started noticing the tone in her voice would change based off of the subjects. And when it came to like her working with a client, it was just like all this life force was like sitting. It was like coming from her heart and coming out of her throat. I could hear it and I could feel it. I could feel it. It was like palpable. It was intoxicating. And I'm like, okay, there she is. Like, there she is. All of her is in this one moment right here. And then I started asking, and I was like, when was another time where you were like determined to achieve? And she was talking about how she's like, I wanted to show up for a client. And she's like, I didn't know how, but I knew that I would not disappoint her. And she's like, absolutely, without a doubt, I was like completely dedicated to like showing up, and I just like wouldn't disappoint her. And even though we were like doing sales, and this wasn't like the business part of my business is maybe not the area where like I feel the most me. She's like, I was dedicated. And I was like, and where did you feel that? She goes, I felt that in my core. And I asked her, I was like, I don't know about you, but at the end of 2021, I went into the doctor and I had a doctor's visit, and my doctor told me that I had fibroids in my uterus. And I was like, thinking, I'm like, how did this happen? Like, I'm so healthy. I exercise and I eat right, et cetera, et cetera. And the doctor said to me, he's like, if there's one thing that you could do for yourself, it'd be watch your stress levels. And I started noticing after he said that when I was in a state of stress, and when I was like trying to achieve based off of like something that my head was telling me to do, I was gathering all of this energy in my core. And I'm like, let me use this energy here to like force it forward. She goes, no matter what, I wasn't going to disappoint her. And I remember I've said all the times, I've said all the time, like most of us are achieving through the lens of by any means possible. And I started asking, how can I achieve through the best means possible? And the by any means possible mindset, where did I feel that? Every fucking time, bro. Every fucking time. It was in my core. And I would hold this tension, this thing where I was forcing energy forward. But when I was in my heart, the energy moved me. I didn't move it. It moved faster. It moved easier. I felt more alive. I could have gone longer. It felt like you couldn't have taken me away from the work that I was doing when I was in my heart. You know, I think about like sometimes when I'm coaching, I might have like an hour coaching call for group coaching on my calendar. All of a sudden we're like 2.5 hours in, sometimes 3 hours in. And like, I've forgotten about time. I'm like, oh my God, you guys might need a pee. Sorry about that. Like, cause I'm just so wrapped in it. Like the energy is moving me. It's like not of me, but through me. And I really started to pay attention to this tool that we've been given, the body. And I started to notice like, where am I achieving from? And for me, it was all in my womb. It's all in my core. And the only thing I changed, and you guys, I have scans that can prove this. The only thing that I changed was I started healing that process. I started healing what I was holding in my womb. I started healing traumas and I shifted. So there's two things I changed. I started healing traumas that I was feeling and noticing in my womb. And then I started healing my relationship with achievement. And instead of me moving energy, instead of me using grit, instead of me using like forced energy of like by any means possible and discipline, I rejected all of those belief systems. And I said, when it moves me, I'll go. And that doesn't mean I don't do things to position myself into the energy to receive. Absolutely. That's its own whole process. But I started looking for like, when the energy moves me, then I'll go. And what I noticed when I did this was achievement started happening faster. Every time I felt the energy here of like, I am just in my fucking heart. You feel it, like your heart starts to warm and almost expand. And it's just like nothing could pull you out of it. Cause you would just be like, fuck you. You're not gonna, like, it's euphoric. It's a drug. It's the greatest drug on earth. To be in that channel in your heart, like there's nothing like it. It is truly euphoric. And I've done a lot of drugs. You guys know my story. Like I've done a lot of actual drugs in my life very early on. It's not a thing I do recently, but like very early on, like, yep, I was the ecstasy girl. I was the cocaine girl. Like I've lived, I've made some mistakes, and there's nothing that compares to the energy of like being in your heart and being in that channel. It is fucking euphoric, the greatest high that exists on earth that I've ever possibly experienced. And as I started paying attention to this energy in her heart, in my heart, and as I said this to her on this call, as I was interviewing her, she goes, Andrea, I can't believe you're saying that. I had a fibroid the size of a melon, I believe she said, or maybe it was an orange. I can't remember which fruit, but either way, it was significantly large and didn't belong. And I was like, how much of your time are you spending in the energy, moving from trying to force energy by any means possible versus by the best means possible? And she's like, almost all of it. Almost all of it. And of course she is, because that's the way we were taught. That's what we were told was the thing that works. That was the way we told, of like that ache in your heart that you're like, I can't ignore this, Andrea. And I'm like, I get that. I respect that. I fucking respect that. Like, I love that for you. You can't ignore it. I don't want you to ignore it. I just want you to ask, then how am I going to get there? If it's going to feel like that when I get there, how do I get there feeling like that the whole way? Because otherwise you're going to get there just like those billionaires and say, this came at too great of a cost. I can't live like this anymore. And the good news is you don't have to. And in my personal experience, when I am exclusively moving from my heart, things happen in miraculous ways. I don't remember Dana, my boyfriend's daughter, asked me last night. She goes, Andrea, what is the number one song the day that you were born? And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea. And I like Googled it. I was like, what was the number one song? And I put in my birthday. It's fucking abracadabra. Like magic. Poof. Possible. Like that is the essence of what it is that I want to embody. Because if I can't do it that way, it's not worth it. I can live a great life on less. But I don't want to. It's like that ache will never go away. That ache will haunt me forever. So it's not a choice to be made as far as like be in pursuit of that hunger, that ache, that thing that you just know is your North Star. Like, it's not a question of choose that or this. You can have both. And the good news is it can all feel fucking awesome. If we're willing to question it, if we're willing to say this is the standard, more alive is a fucking standard. More alive is a fucking standard. More alive is a fucking standard. You can have both. You just have to be willing to hold it. You just have to be willing to say no to the thing that's in front of you right now so you can have the thing that's exceptional at the next door. I'm running a group right now called Feminine Velocity where I'm teaching this process like in depth, many steps to this. And one of the women got on we do like a weekly celebration call. And it's fun. It's like we all get this contact high from each other's wins. Like, do this with your girlfriends. Like, it's so good. It's like every single person got off and they're like, I literally feel high just listening to everybody's wins. Like, it's the shared energy of it. There's a secret fucking sauce to feminine velocity that comes in community. It comes in environment. It's a critical thing. I've thought about it. I'm like, well, I just sell this offer as like something that people can just sign up for anytime and they can go through it on their own. Like, I want to, I can't, because like you would be missing a critical element, which is the environment piece. It's the community piece. Like it is a core part of feminine velocity. And one of them gets on and she's like, Andrea, I can't believe this, but like I had the balls to say no to a client. She's like, I knew it. I knew right away that if I said yes to this person, it would come at a cost to my future self. She wasn't the right fit for me. It might feel good. We might say yes to a client today, but actually serving the client through the full extent of the contract might come at a cost. We don't think about things like that. We're just like, get the money in the door today, and then we'll just do whatever it takes on the other side. Like, you're losing money by doing that because one client can take up the energy and capacity of 3 if they're not the right client for you. I've had it happen so many times. I'm like, it's not worth it anymore. And it's like, and then they're kind of missing out on like the person who is the right support person for them. If it's not me, it is somebody else. So my divine no is like, is meaningful for all. Like it's for me and for them as well. And she's like, I said no. And she's like, I don't know where the next client is going to come from. And then she just posted in the group. This was like days later. This was Tuesday and it's now Friday. So like just yesterday, by Thursday, she's like, oh my God, I just had the conversation with like the most ideal client. Like, it's almost always the next door when you are in the energy of feminine velocity, when you're in your heart. Like, I get it. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, it is a skill set to be learned because we have to unlearn a lot. We have to unlearn a lot, but it is simple and it's not time consuming. It just takes dedication and devotion. So I want to go back to freedom. Freedom. So direction is like that inner compass. The O is opportunity. We do need to position ourselves in areas of opportunity because I say all the time, like, progress is humanity's kink and we're all dirty little sluts for it. Like, we're hungry to grow. So we have to position ourselves in areas for opportunity. I'm like, okay, there's like visibility piece here. There's like, or just like, what's Sarah Blakely's husband's name? His name is Jesse something. I just read one of his posts just this morning and he said, before I could afford an office, I used to go sit at the Beverly Hills and I would pay for a salad and I would sit there for 4 hours. And he said, I got to sit in the room with all of these like amazing people where I could possibly like rub elbows with the right person. Like, you might run into someone that's like a future partnership. You might run into someone that's a future client. You might run into someone that's like the bridge or the person who knows the person. You never know. There's like another podcast. I'm not sure if it's coming before or after this one where I say like, we keep asking how, and that's like not actually our job. That's God's job. Our only job is to be willing. And what Jesse was saying is like, I was willing to position myself in the area for greatest opportunity. I was just willing. He didn't know how, he didn't know who was going to be in that room. He didn't know like any of the other details. He was just willing to position himself in the room of opportunity. And we all have that opportunity. And then the last one is money. And I do believe if you focus on the first six, money will happen as a byproduct. You don't even have to think about it. I don't set money goals. I used to set money goals and I realized they actually take me out of feminine velocity, because all of a sudden, if I'm not like hitting a certain metric, then it evokes doubt, and doubt evokes this like hesitation. And then all of a sudden I'm like spending a lot of time and energy, like self-coaching and having shitty days. And I'm like, I stopped focusing on it. And somebody might say like, Andrea, like that's the bitch move, because like you're just avoiding like confrontation and the hard stuff. Like, actually, I don't believe that. Like, I'm not here to avoid like the truths of my soul. Like, I do therapy, I'll do all the things. Like, I have the hard conversations when I need to have them. Like, July was a hell of a fucking year of like hard conversations and real shit for me. And like, I'm willing to do all that, but I'm also asking myself, like, how can I position myself for the greatest sense of ease? And I don't believe ease means easy. I don't believe ease means without effort. Ease isn't without effort. Ease is without friction. And if friction comes along the way, my first job is eliminate the friction. And then I can move faster. If I'm devoted to a specific vision, someday I want to sit in front of an audience or stand in front of an audience of 5,000 people from my own community. I don't know how. I want to be that person that like Joe Dispenza that opens cart and it's sold out in like minutes, because people are like, I'm ready for this medicine. I'm starving for this medicine. I'm committed to this medicine. I'm willing. I don't know how, but I'm willing. That's all God is asking of us. He knows you don't have the plan. If it did, it would like overwhelm you. If I had started my business back in 2011, my big goal was to make like $200 a month. That was my big vision. My very first big goal. And then the next big goal was to form Michael Kors watches. Like, I started with peanut visions. If I had thought about a 5,000 person audience that I was in charge of like holding an experience for them, I would have been like, bye, peace, I'm out. This isn't for me. I'm not the one. I'm not God's chosen child. I had to be willing to let the vision unfold for me and just keep taking a step. God doesn't need our how, he needs our willing. That's it, period. That's it. That's all that's required of you. Just be willing. Show up every day, willing. So I want to loop back to then, what does all of this have to do with divine timing? This whole willingness, or the posture of, I don't know how, but I'm willing. Here's what that looks like from a practical, like, then Andrea, what do I do? I could wake up and say like, okay, I'm willing. Is that where I stop? No. And this is where it gets fun. So the women in my feminine velocity group, they struggled with this a little bit at first. There was like, huh? Are you sure? Okay. Here's your only question. If you were to think of a variety of things that could happen in the next 30 days, 60 days, year, like whatever, it's up to you. But I'm going to say start with something that's a little short term. Because what I want to do is I want to show you this works. I want you to create nervous system evidence that this can work for you. And all I want you to do is I want you to think about something where if you're like, if this happened, if I felt this in 30 days, if my life looked like this in 30 days, if I experienced this in 30 days, and make the goal big enough, I don't even like goal, like set the intention of like, make it big enough to where it's interesting, but not so big to where you're like, there's no fucking way. You need enough of a belief system, but it can't be also so easy for you that you're like, I'm like uninspired. Like there's got to be genuine interest in there. So think of it from that perspective of like, okay, if in the next 30 days there was something that was like interesting to me, like really interesting, but it was like just 1% out of the realm of like guaranteed for you, 5% out of the realm of guaranteed, 10% out of the realm. And it doesn't have to be an outcome. It can be a process-based thing. I'll give you some examples of the different women's intentions that they've set in this group with me. All I'm looking for is if you were to imagine like a sailboat needs wind in order for the wind to move the boat. And all you had to do was find the wind and the boat would move you. The vehicle would move you. What idea, what vision, what desire, what ache in your heart has wind now? And then your job is don't question it. Because a lot of people in my group, I'm working privately with, I think about 30 women, 28 to 30 women right now. And a lot of them were like, I want to see like this number of followers on like my Instagram, or like, I want to see this amount of money in my bank account. And then 3-4 days into us doing like the 4-step process that I teach them every day, they're like, oop, I can see now. Like I set the goal that it, like my head wanted, but my heart wasn't ready for. And one of the girls, Ashley, she goes, I can't remember what her original goal was. Maybe it was like a $10,000 client or something like that. And then she changed it to, I just want to play on TikTok. And she goes, and I know this is just a silly goal. And I was like, watch, in 30 to 60 days, you're going to see how serious that silly goal was. Because the thing that has the wind now, already in it today, powers the next possibility. This is why when you practice this, you will never want to ask how again, because it's too fun to like handcuff the universe. It's too like limiting to handcuff the universe. And it's too fun to be delighted and surprised in awe of just like watching it unfold and just being like, oh my God, I'm a fucking magician. I'm the most magical being on earth. Let's look and see what's possible for me next. I can't even believe. So some of the women, they took their outcome goal away and they're like, I'm finally going to start this podcast, or I'm finally going to launch this course, or I'm like launching my rebrand or whatever. And like one of them shifted and she's like, my 30-day feminine velocity goal is to stay connected to my heart. That was her goal. Another one was to deeply and profoundly rest. She just retired. She's like, I have plenty of money. I have retirement money coming in. And she's like, it's to rest. And she's like, that surprised me. And like, I want to talk myself out of it because I feel like I should be doing something else. And I said, what if that's the one thing that powers all possibility next? Then it's like trying to drive a sailboat with limp dick wind. Like, who wants that? Like, God is trying to create the perfect storm for you to where it's not effortless. Like, you want to be on the boat and you want to be a part of it. And like, you want to steer the ship, but it's like, but you don't have to suffer. You're at the boat, allowing the wind to carry you. It's like the forces of all that be are at your back saying, we are here to help you win. Always have been. Literally every day of our life. Always have been. It's just nobody asked us to ever look. We weren't taught to look, where's the wind today? What actually has live energy in it for me today? I've said this in many different ways, and I'll probably never stop coming up with different metaphors or different ways of saying it, because there's always going to be someone that needs to hear it and for it to land finally differently for them. And it has been wild watching the transformation occur for these women, where it was just like, one of them is watching her love life explode. And for the first time ever, she's feeling supported and in her feminine. She's like, I've never let a man truly take me out on a date. She said that, like, I've never let a man truly take me out on a date. And like, not only did I've let this man date me, but like, he's waking up and he's making me coffee and he's making me fresh mango juice. And he's like completely taking care of me, and like multiple orgasms and like all the things. And she's like, what? And she was talking to me and she was telling me, and she's like, it's really hard because sometimes I just want to be like, oh, I can help with this. I can help with this. And oh, let me do this for you. And I looked at her and I was like, here's your challenge if you choose to accept it. Totally up to you. My challenge for you is that in this relationship, for just the next month, only say yes, thank you. That's it. If he offers something for you, just say, thank you. Yes. See what happens. This right now of her being like connected to herself, connected to her truth, connected to all parts, mind, body, spirit, connected to all of it, will power everything else. Her business will absolutely benefit because you're the source of everything. I looked at my friend, Leanne Lopez Mosley, yesterday, and I like watched this video of her and she like this fucking iconic red dress. And I'm just like looking at her like embodiment. And she showed some behind the scenes of the shoot. And I'm just watching her and like, this bitch be doing like $1 million in $1 million weeks right now. Like she's crazy. I'm just like in awe. It makes me think actually, when I was interviewed on the Mind Valley Coach podcast, I had asked, I was like, do you believe that we can keep a business simple and still scale to $50 million? And he's like, nope. And I remember just thinking, I was like, watch me. And I'm watching Leanne already do it. I'm like, thanks, mama, for paving the way because she keeps her business uber fucking simple. Like I only follow women who are like in devotion to simplicity. Fucking devotion to simplicity. Anyways, I'm watching her and I was talking to my daughter this morning as we were getting ready for this podcast. And I was like, look at Leanne. And I was like, somebody else could go to her sales pages. They could write out a script for everything that she says and say the exact same words in the exact same dress and repeat the exact same video. Why does hers actually move people? Because she brought all of herself into it. It is completely embodied. She is in the most pure and absolute truth for her. And for me, if I were to like run my business as she does, where she does these like really beautiful high fashion shoots, because that's who she is. She loves it. She like is in total devotion to the fashion world. She like loves that shit. Me, I really couldn't give all that much of a fuck. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, that's fun for a second. And then I'm like, nope, not for me. Hoodie and jeans it is. Like, I'm just not that in devotion to it. It's fun. And I'm usually about like 10 years behind every trend. And like, I'm totally cool with that. Like absolutely cool with that. But I look at it and I'm like, I could look at her video and I could repeat the dress and I could repeat the earrings and I could repeat every move and it's just not going to move people because it's her truth. It's not mine. That's like the only thing that moves all of it is the pure truth of it being mine. Why do you think some goals aren't moving forward for you? Because have you asked, whose is this? Who wants this for me? Why am I doing it? It might sound good and it might like seem appealing, but like if your heart's not in it, it's not actually yours, or you're just focusing on the wrong thing for you. That doesn't mean you can't have the money. Like I believe all women listening to this right now, if you stay focused in devotion to like the thing that has wind in its sails right now for you, that's all you did. I believe you will be profoundly cared for financially. I don't just mean like wealthy from the inside out. I mean like actually money in your bank. I believe God will guide us to prosper. I just believe it with my whole heart. I know it. There's nothing else I know more than that. That doesn't mean every day it's gonna be perfect, but I believe when we zoom out and we look at our life as a whole, we're gonna be like, there's significant profit here, like actually money in your bank. I believe you can take that statement to the literal fucking bank and cash a check with it someday and go on a really nice trip or whatever it is you want to do for yourself. But so many of us are trying to force the wind in our life. We're trying to manufacture it and it's exhausting you. And it's coming at a cost, a tremendous cost to your future self, a tremendous cost to your grandchildren someday, a tremendous cost to your personal relationships. Remember, freedom is fulfillment, relationships, energy, expression, direction, opportunity, and money comes last, but money will be multiplied. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that When we move from the truth knows how to multiply itself. When we move from the truth knows how to multiply itself. Cash that check someday and come back to me. Hit me up in a DM and be like, damn. Yep. Show me a copy of that like Stripe receipt and you tell me like, Andrea, this was all wind. Blow up my DMs. Like I live for this shit. Like the hardest days of my life, like I'm just like, I don't care what I'm struggling through right now because I know I'm going to transmute it. I know I'm going to turn it into gold and I know I'm going to make purpose out of it. And I know I'm going to lead somebody else out of this. And it's so worth it to me. It's so worth it to me because I know at the end, we are all going to look back and be like, that thing that I thought was the hardest day of my life, that deepest struggle became the biggest gift. When I look back at like that teen pregnancy when I had my son and like, I was so young and like exhausted and crying in the middle of the night. He was colicky. I had mastitis, literally like my whole nipple was like covered in a scab. Sorry if that's PTSD for some of you mamas, but like literally my nipples still hurt even thinking about that. Like I was physically in pain and suffering. But it was that moment of him casting a bigger vision for my life than I ever had for myself. I didn't have examples of wealth around me. I didn't have examples of ease. I didn't have examples of like healthy relationships that felt like a love that was freezing time that actually healed me, not hurt me. No example of that. Like we never asked, we never questioned it. It was just like, this is just what families are like. This is just what relationships are like. Like that it was just, that's what is. And the Virgo in me is like, I have questions. Why? Why is it like this? And what if it could be different? And that one question changed everything so many times in my client work lately. My clients have come to me and they've been like, how, Andrea? And remember, like, that's not your part. Just be willing, right? But also most people are asking how as a question. They're using it as a statement. And they're just like, how just simply means I actually don't believe. It's like with a period at the end. Because they wouldn't be asking it if they believed that they would just figure it out. The question wouldn't even occur. It would stop coming because you would just follow the fucking wind. And you'd be like, what has wind right now? Because God handles the heavy lifting, period. If this episode was useful to you, if you heard something that just broke something open in your brain, if you know somebody else that is like, God, I fucking know who needs to hear this, please, number one, leave us a review. I never ask you guys for that, but please leave a comment. Please leave a review. We're on YouTube now. We're on YouTube Shorts. We're over on Instagram Reels. We're in all your favorite places for podcasts. But I want to hear what your takeaways are. Please send me a DM. A bunch of you guys have DM'd me from some of our more recent podcasts now that we're in the studio, and we have some YouTube videos for you guys with film and all of that. We appreciate you guys. And every single week, we're like, how can we make this better? How can we make this more potent? How can we make this more impactful? If you guys have questions, look in the description area below. There's a link, and that link allows you to actually leave a voicemail for me. Like you can just say, hey, Andrea, here's my question for the podcast. And we might grab that question and use it for a future piece of content. If you guys want an hour of my time privately, it's going to cost you over $2,000. If you guys want an hour of my time publicly, it'll cost you simply asking the question through that link, where you guys will be able to just leave that voicemail, and I might turn that into a podcast just for you, which will, of course, help millions of people. Every single time somebody asks a question so deeply personal for themselves, but they let me or any other person who has any sort of like influence or audience answer that publicly, you're answering it for millions of people to come, because the content on our podcast and our YouTubes, that shit lives forever. That's like, it just goes for fucking forever. So thank you guys. Please leave a comment, review, and share. We love you and appreciate you. And my wish is for you to go find the wind for you today. And if you can't find it, keep looking, because I promise you the wind is somewhere. Make this a fun game. I love you.